Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the final segment of Faith Book Shoes. I'm your host, James Proctor. This was inspired by one of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s sermons entitled A Knock at Midnight. I came across this sermon while reading it in a book that I picked up with the same title, A Knock at Midnight. And in this book, the author pretty much displays multiple sermons preached by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. From a young age, I've always admired preachers and always studied preachers and the words they use and how they preach a sermon. And I even admired or loved to read some of my dad's old sermons. So that's what inspired me to pick up the book. And as I picked up the book, I knew that the sermon, A Knock at Midnight, will be part of one of the sermons that I would podcast about. In this sermon, and I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but the major theme of the sermon is that there's a midnight traveler who, because it's midnight, is traveling in the dark. This person is in the dark and they're in search for something. And that something is 3 loaves of bread. The bread of faith, the bread of hope, and a bread of love. We all have been there at one point in time where we had a lack of faith, a lack of hope, or felt a lack of love. And lacking these things put us in a place of darkness. I'll speak for myself. I've definitely been there. So Dr. King says that when we're in this place of darkness, these are the 3 things that the midnight traveler is looking for. Well, as I reflected on that sermon, it brought me back to a text exchange that I had with my dad, or a text message that I sent him, to where I was able to show him that I understood in the most clearest way possible at the time, clearer than ever before, where I can go in times of darkness or times of despair, where I can go to get the bread of faith, the bread of hope, and the bread of love. And that text message, which described where I can go, is found in Proverbs 9:10. And that reads, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." Other translations will say the reverent fear of the Lord. And reverent just means feeling or showing deep and solemn respect. In other words, I came to the conclusion that in life, I can't get through life by myself because all of the trials and tribulations and things that are thrown at you that can be unexpected. But there is someone that I can go to when I'm in a low place, when I am in a state of darkness, that I can go to personally on my own to get or to renew my faith, my hope, and love. And I followed up the fear of the Lord scripture when I text my dad with another scripture that says, "A wise son makes a father glad." And that scripture pretty much means that as a son, or what I was trying to communicate with my father through that scripture, is that not only do I understand where I can go, I understand that now that I do know, he can be at peace because I know where to go for faith, hope, and love. So I encourage everyone, if you are in a state where when you find yourself as the midnight traveler in search for some bread, in search for hope, in search for love, I encourage you to know where to go or who to go to. for me, it is God. It is a relationship with Jesus that gives me that faith, hope, and love. And if he can do it for me, he can do it for you as well. Dr. King pretty much sums up the message sums up his sermon with disappointment, sorrow, and despair are born at midnight, but morning follows. This faith that there will be a morning that follow, this faith adjourns the assemblies of hopelessness and brings new light into the dark chambers of pessimism. So not only do I challenge you to, if you find yourself being a midnight traveler, to take that extra step to find your bread. I also urge you that once you do find your light and you transition from a state of darkness into a state of lightness, meaning fulfillment, knowing where you can go to get that faith, hope, and love, I urge you to extend your hand to open the door for someone, because the sermon is titled A Knock at Midnight. So when you're knocking, you expect the door to be open. We all go through life either being a traveler or being someone who is able to open the door. So I open the door to you who are listening and offer you what has been offered to me, or what was revealed to me, that there is someone you can go to for faith, hope, and love. In that, I conclude this podcast. It's been a pleasure sharing my thoughts, sharing some of my intimate thoughts with you, and some passages or some books that I've read, and sharing the quotes that I learned from them. It's truly been a pleasure. I've grown through this experience. And I just want to, again, leave you as I always leave you with the inspiration statement, which is, no matter how many setbacks, no matter what people do to stand in your way, what you are destined to do has your fingerprints on it. Only your specific gift can produce your destiny's true impact. Nothing nor no one can permanently block the fulfillment of your destiny. It's only a matter of proper preparation and God's perfect timing. Faith, books, shoes.